Planned capital city and administration centers often have transit issues due to high number of workers and visitors, low density buildings, and wide roads. Perfect city from the beginning. In the administrative capital of Putrajaya, people often drive to work or leisure as the bus service is lack of reliable frequency and the monorail project has been indefinitely postponed since 2004. 20 years after 2004, Automated Rapid Transit or ART has been put on 3 months trial to test whether the service is suitable for a city like Putrajaya. While its driving is more preferable than taking a bus in the administrative capital of Putrajaya, and is ART the best way to solve the transit gap? Let's take a ride again in a long bus and understand of the lack of transit in a planned administrative city and the ways to solve the issue. Putrajaya became the administrative capital of Malaysia when most of the government offices moved out from Kuala Lumpur, the capital city, since the year 1999. Together with the rapid economic growth in a multi-ethnic country, Putrajaya was built with a grand design in mind, highlighting the mixture of geometry, traditional and modern architecture. Before going deeper into the subject, we need to understand the need of the building a greenfield administrative city. The idea of moving the administrative centre out from Kuala Lumpur has been mooted since the late 1980s. The reason, the industrialisation means the increasing number of people migrated to Kuala Lumpur to seek jobs and better life prospects. Thus, the congestion of traffic and people makes the need of moving to a new city where the ministries and agencies could gather in a place with less concern of congestion and lack of space. Moving the capital city to a greenfield city, purposely built, is not a new thing in the 20th century. Canberra is the purpose-built capital city in the middle between two rival largest cities in Australia, Sydney and Melbourne. As a way to encourage the development in the interior, Canberra was founded in the year 1913 and designed with wide avenues, low buildings and suburban housing. Brasilia was founded in the year 1960 as the new capital of Brazil, replacing Moreno Rio de Janeiro, and designed with a distinct aeroplane shape. Wide avenues were built to prioritize automobiles and to ensure smooth traffic, in bracket, with a number of cloverleaf interchanges. With low density housing and wide avenues that is complete opposite of high rises and narrow streets in the former capital Rio, Brasilia was designed to accommodate the population of 300,000. How many people live in Brasilia around this year? About 3 million people. We can see where this story will be going. In the middle of the planned administrative city, the nearest housing to the city centre is the low density housing, consists of bungalows and semi-detached houses or semi-D. The houses which house top government officials, businessmen and whoever afford to buy an expensive landed house. And how about the rest of the people working there? Most of the population who earn medium or low income live in the high density housing at the edge of the city if they are lucky to get one. Instead of the city centre where the jobs are located, apartments are located at the edge of the city where the monotonous flats will less likely to interfere with the grandiose architecture. In the case of Putrajaya, apartments are mostly located at Precinct 5, Precinct 9 and Precinct 17, way at the edge of the city. With the combination of wide roads, irregular bus frequency and the non-existent monorail, driving is the default way to work. According to a paper published in the year 1987 based on the case in Brasilia, the modern design of Brasilia was heavily focused on car while marginalized bus and other forms of transit. The transit where the people with low income who work or going to the government offices rely on. There are several reasons that the administrative city such as Putrajaya has a wide roads that entice driving over public transportation. Reason number 1, the projection of grandiose architecture. With the wide avenues and boulevard, the elegantly designed buildings are easy to see from afar, which highlighted the power projection. Multi-lane boulevard located between Prime Minister's Office and Putrajaya International Convention Centre or PICC, with ministries, agencies and court in between. Similar principle has been used in other purpose-built government centres. Canberra has Parliamentary Triangle, Brasilia has Ixo Monumental, and Astana has Nurjol Boulevard. Reason number 2, security reasons. As the center of government activities, wide roads allow for better traffic and less concern of movement barriers if there is a traffic accident or partial road closure. In addition, wide roads discourage impromptu gatherings and mass demonstrations that could tarnish the image of whoever is in power in the current moment. You need a lot of people to fill up the whole boulevard. That is one of the reasons that demonstrations often held in Kuala Lumpur, despite that most of the government offices and federal court are in Putrajaya. Number 3, discouraging civil disobedience, related to number 2. Again, the wide space is the main reason that Putrajaya rarely saw any mass demonstration, and if it happened, only concentrated in front of the federal court. Number 4, as a place for events and celebrations. Wide roads means there is a lot of space for events and fairs such as Ramadan Bazaar, Car Free Day and Merdeka Parade. Wide and straight boulevard with grandiose buildings lined by makes the great image for the mass media and the internet, a projection of power to the mass and to the world. People who live in or commute to or regularly visit Putrajaya will experience the hardship of moving around with just public transportation. During its planning stage, Putrajaya was designed to have 2 monorail lines as the backbone of the public transport. Do remember that monorail is a kind of futuristic transit solution in the late 20th century, cheaper than MRT and LRT to build, smaller land footprint and better frequency than bus. I talked about Putrajaya monorail in the previous video, where the line is the only transit line in this country that is never completed its construction. If you want to know why, the link to watch this video will be appeared flying above here. The long postponed monorail should be serving key places such as Boulevard, Putra Square and Parcel A, B, C, where some ministry buildings are located. As Putrajaya monorail construction was halted since 2004 and never finished, Putrajaya relied exclusively on bus for intra-city public transport. Let's talk about bus. Bus is the default mode of public transport in Penang Administration City due to its cost, flexibility and its non-interference with the grandiose architecture, unlike the other transit modes. In Brasilia, a BRT network opened in 2014, linking the neighborhoods in the southwest of Brasilia with a BRT lane and terminal. There are ideas to build BRT in Putrajaya, but after the underwhelming performance of Sunway BRT, there is no plan further to build a BRT until the appearance of ART in the year 2019, first in Johor Bahru. If you want to watch this video about the Sunway BRT, the link is... Back in 2017 in Putrajaya, there was a trial of fleet of electric buses with the cooperation of New Energy in Industrial Technology Development Organization or NEDO, Japan. However, a combination of irregular frequency and lockdown in 2020 makes the electric bus project flip. Why not build a tram? There are suggestions to introduce tram in Putrajaya as a light transit solution, as the Putrajaya roads are wide enough to accommodate a tram line. I talked about the existence of the tram line in Penang in the previous video, and how tram and later trolley bus in Penang were terminated due to competition with the bus, the diesel bus, that is more flexible and lower operation cost. If you want to know why, you can watch here, the link again appear here. So many links, yeah, related. If Georgetown, a city which has high population density, got rid of tram and trolley bus service in the year 1960 and never reinstalled the service ever since, how could Putrajaya sustain the tram system if the system operated at all? The same question can be asked on the economic viability of the ART trial is going right now. In addition, some of the areas in Putrajaya often close during special events such as Boulevard and Putra Square. If a tram track was built in the middle of Boulevard, the service would shut down during Merdeka Day Parade. And how about rail transit? Currently, all rail transit in Putrajaya conjugate at one single station far at the west corner of Putrajaya. Why Putrajaya Central was not built in the middle of the city from the beginning, it really baffles. Instead, there is a transit gap between Putrajaya Central and major destinations in Putrajaya that are covered by bus, as been mentioned earlier. Therefore, a new transit solution should be able to serve a large number of passengers with high frequency and flexibility as well. The first trial of ART on February 2024 received an overwhelming response from the public who are eager to try the futuristic public transport. Therefore, the second trial of ART in Putrajaya is conducted between May and July 2024 with longer trial period and longer route. What is the experience riding the ART for the second time? The trip started at Putrajaya Central, the main train station of Putrajaya, where KLIA Transit stops and Putrajaya Line MRT terminates. The stops on the test routes are rudimentary, only a few stone benches in Putrajaya Central and existing bus stops for the rest of the routes. A lot of people rode this ART on the trial period. This is the passengers rode on Monday. One thing that changed is the information board. The electronic board has been replaced with a paper diagram showing the two test routes. It is evolving just backwards. Let's turn up the volume of ukulele and enjoy Putrajaya from ART. On weekdays, ART pass through Putra Square and Boulevard via Federal Court. On weekdays, the ART route include IOI Putrajaya Shopping Mall, a large and popular shopping mall that is not served by any rail transit service. IOI Putrajaya is not located in Putrajaya, but it is located in Serdang. Why not name the IOI shopping mall IOI Serdang in the first place? ART has a potential of linking places with high foot traffic capacity of more than 300 passengers with single driver and minimal infrastructure improvements. Beyond the excitement of the public, including myself, there are several issues that need to be highlighted. Issue number 1, the lane. During the trial period, ART shared the lane with other traffic as there is no bus lane throughout its trial route. The absence of ART lane means the bus share the lane with other vehicles and need to stop at every traffic light. Definitely a red flag or definitely a red light. The lack of ART only lane means that every ART trip must be escorted by police or Putrajaya traffic marshal. Let's be real, is it practical to provide 10 police cars in front of the ART if there are 10 ART bus sets? When the ART is in operation sharing the lane with other vehicles, there is a risk of ART meet the vehicles in front or at the back and kissing each other. Issue number 2, frequency. Currently, there is one ART throughout the testing period. One is definitely not enough to have a frequent service. The ideal frequency is about 5 to 10 minutes or even lower, similar with the current BRT Sunway line. If the frequency of the ART is only 3 times daily as the current trial schedule, ART frequency will be not much different than a Nadiputra bus line. Issue number 3, stations and platforms. Throughout the trial period, ART used the existing bus stops that often used by operating Nadiputra buses and irresponsible car parking. Because RM300 are summoned but nearer to the building might be cheaper than RM3 parking far away. As a result, the difference between the road surface and the ART floor is so significant. There is no way that people with mobility issues will be able to ride ART this way. Mind the gap! Therefore, proper stations with a high platform for ART are needed to ensure convenient travel and barrier-free for the disabled and the elderly. Issue number 4, ticketing. Get free ticketing, which is only tap machine, as in Canberra tram, will never work in Putrajaya. Malaysians are not familiar or honest enough to be trusted with get free ticketing. Therefore, the station need to be equipped with a fare gate such as in BRT stations in Sunway City, Sunway Line. Stepping in and out in the ART bus like the normal bus will slow down the trip. Waiting for everyone to going in or going out, making delays will be common. If either one or four Hayati issues are not taken seriously, millions of ringgit spent on ART in Putrajaya might result to a number of ridership as many as a Nadiputra bus line, only a few thousand passengers daily. To avoid the ART project turn into a white elephant project, the planners should take the lessons of what happened to the street level BRT in Bangkok and Hanoi. I talked about the Bangkok BRT in the previous video and the reason of why this BRT line has lesser passengers than its projection that caused the proposed BRT network throughout Bangkok was cancelled. Spoiler alert, lower passenger than expected due to the issues, the 4 issues I mentioned earlier. To watch this video, the link will be not on the ground but above here. To sustain the operation feasibility, connections to the neighbouring cities such as Kajang, Bandar Baru Bangi and Sabai Jaya should be considered. Even better if the ART is able to link the gap between MRT termini of Kajang and Putrajaya Central. It was projected that ART will be fully in operation by the end of 2024, even though the building of transit infrastructure such as stations and bus-only lane are yet to be started. As a conclusion, ART may partially solve the transit gap only if all of the 4 issues are solved and make ART a proper transit line. Do you think ART is the best solution for Putrajaya and other planned capital cities? You can comment down below. If you want to ride ART in Putrajaya, the trial is run between 30th of May and 31st of July 2024. The route is from Putrajaya Central to Dataran Gemilang, passing by Federal Court on the weekdays and from Putrajaya Central to IOI Shopping Mall on weekdays. There are 3 trips per day at 8:30 am, 11:30 am and 2:30 pm. No trip on the public holidays and the trip is free. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new about transit issues and the planned administrative city and if ART might be able to solve the transit issues in Putrajaya. Thank you so much for watching again and see you in the next video.